Hi, my name is Dr. Izzy Justice, and I'm here to talk to you about some very cutting edge research that we have been doing on the neuroscience of human performance in all sports, in target sports, but especially in the game of golf. The first thing the place that I want to start with is just how to think about neuroscience and why it is relevant to your game of golf, whether you're a player, a parent, or a coach, or even a caddy. The analogy that I use a lot when I speak is a road atlas. For those of you that are old enough to know what a road atlas is, back in the old days, every car had a book, and it had roads, highways, interstates, streets that gave you directions. It's what you used. It was before GPS was invented. Well, we don't use road atlas anymore because we have a GPS now, either in our car or in our phones. And we get to the same place that we wanted to go, but we get there much, much faster because of technology. So neuroscience is like the GPS, the technology that has been available for us to understand the human brain, specifically as it relates to neuromuscular performance, specifically as it comes to target sports. In other words, you are sending a ball to a target to the best of your ability. Our understanding of how all of that collaboration between the eyes, the brain, and our muscles has significantly and exponentially grown. So neuroscience is sort of, the latest wave of understanding, and we should give honor and credit to all of the psychology and the experience of so many people that have come before neuroscience. But we have technology that is very similar to TrackMan. TrackMan, is the technology that we use to analyze a golf shot and a golf swing. Well, we have exclusive technology for the brain TrackMan that allows us to wirelessly follow golfers for every shot, putting, chipping, full swings, and really identify where some of the issues may be. And I'm very happy to share all of those results with you today. You can get a lot more information on our website at GYRAGolf.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at IzzyJustice, Instagram or TikTok at Dr. IzzyJustice. So let's get going. The first thing that I really want to talk to you about is, do you know that when my phone rings, the two biggest questions that I get where athletes and coaches are seeking help is, how do I get mentally stronger? In the game of golf, if you want to become a better putter, well, there are literally hundreds of drills out there that you can, and lessons that you can take. If you want to become better at chipping or the bunker shot, you can take lessons and you can go practice those kinds of things, and the same with the full swing. But it's very difficult for people to answer, how do I become mentally stronger? And G.I.R.A Golf is a framework. It's a neuroscience framework that helps you practice mentally so that you can become mentally stronger. And I'll give you the definition of becoming mentally stronger in just a few minutes. The second big why of G.I.R.A Golf and neuroscience is, how do I recover from a bad shot or a bad play or a bad hole? I have a son that plays junior golf. I work with a lot of professional golfers. I have watched hundreds and hundreds of rounds of golf in person. And if there's one thing that many parents or coaches or even caddies say, is, my player is really, really good up until they hit that bad shot. So the ability to recover from a bad play, a bad shot, a bad swing, a bad hole, a bad score is, again, a key why as to why you should consider understanding neuroscience. Let's start with the end game. What are the attributes? What are your attributes when you have played your absolute best? And I often ask people, hey, have you ever played a round of golf where you're completely in a zone? Almost to a person, everybody has said yes. And then I ask, well, what are the attributes when you were playing at your absolute best? What was going on? Can you describe how you were thinking or feeling or what you were doing? And every single person that I've asked that question in every sport has given me literally the exact same answer. And it has to do with what you're seeing on the screen right now. These are the common attributes of what people say when they are playing their absolute best, when they have had that amazing round of golf and an amazing score. I suspect these are very similar to the attributes if I had asked you the same question. I want you to look at this slide again and ask yourself, what do these attributes, when you have played at your best and you know exactly what it feels like, what do these attributes have in common? The big message here is that these attributes are cognitive. They're in your brain. It's very rare that someone has told me that when they're playing at their best, their swing was perfect or they hit the perfect shot. Every golfer has described it as being more mental as the key attributes of being at your best. So we already know the answer. We know that when you are at your best, these are the attributes. I then ask, well, how did you get here? People have a difficult time answering that question. I say, well, how will you get back there again? And that's an even difficult question to answer. But if you know that these attributes are in the brain, and if you can learn how to manipulate your brain, control your brain, then you can get back to this state more often and play your best golf. We need a language. Most of us have never taken a course in elementary school, high school, college even, and even in life on exactly a language to use during the game of golf when it comes to the brain. The language that I want to suggest to you is green, yellow, red. This is a universal language, first of all, like a traffic light: green, go, yellow, caution, red, stop. What you see below each one of those colors is a live digital scan of the human brain. So those colors were not just colors that I picked because it looks like a traffic light, but the actual conditions of the human brain. I want you to think of green as you playing at your best. Green is essentially all of these attributes that you see over here. We're not there very often, maybe 5–10% of the time. Yellow is sort of where most of us are most of the time, and red is the complete opposite of green. You are hot, you're upset, you're playing very poorly, you don't know where all of these bad shots are coming from, you're having a very difficult time to recover. Language, when it comes to neuroscience, is a huge part of it. We can go crazy trying to use labels that we've never been trained on. Most of the labels that we have been using our entire lives, the emotional labels like happy, mad, glad, upset, annoyed, joyful, these are labels that our Bronze Age ancestors came up with, but there's really no correlation to those labels to what's actually happening in the human brain or the human body. Secondly, none of us agreed to them. If I ask a golfer, how do you feel? And the golfer says, I'm upset, and another person says, I'm upset also, the two of them have used the same labels, but they could mean something completely different. So it's important that as a player, with your caddy, with your coach, with your parent, but with yourself, that you have a language that actually depicts what the condition of your brain is so that you can make ultimately the right decisions. So let's understand why the color green, yellow, red is appropriate and exactly what's going on. I want you to think of the brain as your ultimate search engine. So all the skills that you have in your life, how to chip, how to putt, all the work that you do on the practice green and on the short game area and on the golf swing, all of that, it goes to one part of the brain, a human body, and only one part, and that's the human brain. Everything is stored over there. So think of the human brain essentially as traffic, and all these knowledge is there, and your brain is processing many other things, not just golf. When there's no traffic in the human brain, in other words, you're calm, you are relaxed, your brain is essentially operating at 80% of its ability, right? So green is, if you think of colors that depict temperature, like the weather, red is very, very hot. And so when there's no traffic in the human brain, so you're not thinking about lots of bad things or just lots of things, the traffic is very low. Just like you're driving in a car and you're trying to get somewhere, if there's no traffic on the road, zoom, you'll just fly and you'll get to where you want to go. In addition, because there's no traffic, other cars coming from other streets or roads can also get to where you are. Think of that as memory, data points that you might need to remember some good things that you have done about the situation that you're in. When you're green, your ability to remember what is already in your brain to also do induction and deduction, to process, to analyze what's going on, is roughly at about 80% capacity. This is very good. This is where we want to go. If you think about yellow, the traffic begins to go. So go much higher. So when you're yellow, you are thinking more thoughts. You are processing more things. And now the traffic in your brain increases. When the traffic in your brain increases, it's very difficult for other cars to also come to where you presently are. So our memory is compromised. We can't remember everything that is in our brain. Also, because we can't remember everything, we also don't make very good decisions. The brain, unlike other organs, like if I breathe, you see my chest expands. But when the brain has more activity, there's no place for the brain to go. It's stuck in his skull. There's no expansion. And so the heat, the temperature increases. When the temperature increases, again, all the arteries, all of the roads, the neural pathways begin to get clogged. And then finally, when you are red, you can see that your brain power drops dramatically, like I said, because there's no place for the electricity in the brain to go. And so your brain power drops to about 5% of your ability. And all of us have been there. We've hit a shot where like, oh my gosh, where did this come from? Well, it came not because you suddenly lost that skill, but because the number of thoughts and the intensity of those thoughts has increased so much. The electricity has gone high, all the roads, all the neural pathways from where your brain needs to remember good things, the skills that it has, they are significantly clogged up. So you perform at a very, very low level. So red, green, yellow are not just random colors, but these are accurate depictions of what's going on in your brain. And we need this language, it's a very simple language, to use on the golf course. These are non-judgmental language, they're just reporting. I can look outside my window right now and I can say, oh, it's cloudy outside. Or I can say that the weather just sucks. When I say it's cloudy, I am reporting. When I say it sucks, I am judging. And so red, green, yellow is more of a reporting. And if you can report accurately, then it'll allow you to make the right adjustments. Now, all of our skills, they sit in the human brain. When I showed this picture to people, a lot of people are surprised. This is essentially your nervous system. This is the roads on which the skills in your brain, the neurons that carry those skills, that knowledge, that information, they travel on this highway system to your muscles. Muscles do not have memory. Muscles only execute the memory that is coming from the brain. So when the brain is red, the neurons are vibrating very high. And so it compromises very specific things that I'm going to talk to you about. But make no mistakes, muscles do not have memory. They receive the memory, the skills, the knowledge from the brain. They're traveling from the brain to the muscles in microseconds. When the brain is red, your neuromuscular function is compromised because the electricity, the neurons are vibrating at a very high rate. When they're yellow, they're also vibrating much, much higher. But when you are green, they're vibrating at exactly the skill level that you have trained yourself, and therefore you can execute a golf shot to the best of your ability. So what are some examples of the thoughts that you can use to say, where is my brain? When you are asleep, you have 0 to 4 hertz. So these are measurable, and we have measured them through extensive research using wireless digital technology. So these are from 0 to 4 hertz, that's called delta. When you're in alpha or theta mode, so that's the frequency in the brain, that's when you are green. So when you're green, you have thoughts like, I know exactly what to do. I can see things, I can hear things. I can help anybody do anything. I remember another really good shot that I've hit. I remember being in the situation before, and I know exactly what I need to do to get out of this. I can do these. These are the examples of the frequency that are associated with the green brain, alpha and theta brain waves. Once we get to beta, now we're above 15 hertz, but somewhere below 40, now we're in yellow. Now we start to have negative thoughts in our head. I don't know what to do. Why am I here? I'm exhausted. How did I get into this situation? I need to make this. If I don't make this, very consequential kinds of things. And then when you're absolutely red, your brain frequency is above 40 hertz. This is awful. I hate this game. Let's take this new language and neuroscience, and now let's begin to apply it to neuromuscular coordination. The brain, without question, controls three things in all target sports. It controls muscle sequence. Every single golf shot is a sequence. The muscles go back and then they go forward. Putting, you go back and then you go forward. Everything is a sequence. That sequence has to be coordinated. When your brain is in alpha and theta mode, green, the sequence happens exactly the way that you and your swing have trained yourself to be. When you get to yellow, something in that sequence is compromised. Something becomes a little bit faster. Maybe your transition is faster. Maybe you move your hips faster. Maybe your leg jumps off a little quicker. And when you're red, it's almost a guarantee that one or two or three or more things in that sequence are going to be off. The second thing that the brain controls is force. When you hit a putt, you are applying a force to that ball. The muscles, they execute that force, but it's really the scale of force comes from the brain. It travels through those cars, those neurons, through that nervous system, to your hands, to your arms, to hit the ball the way that you want to. Again, when your brain is green, you will hit the ball to the way that you have trained yourself to be. If it's a 5-foot putt, you've hit many of those. You know exactly what a 5-foot putt force feels like. If your brain is yellow, your scale is compromised. Those cars, those neurons that are traveling through your nervous system to your muscles are vibrating much higher, and your sense of force becomes compromised. And if you're red, it is for sure compromised. And in most cases, you will hit the ball much harder than you intended to, because the frequency in your brain is just so much higher. The third thing in target sports that your brain controls, especially in the game of golf, is your ability to hold a target. Ultimately, in its most simplistic form, golf is a target sport. You are sending the ball to a target, whether it's a hole, a part of the fairway, a part of the green, you are sending the ball. Golf is very unique though, because your eyes are not on the target when you're hitting the ball, they're down at the ball. So they're essentially two targets. But your brain has to remember the ultimate target, especially when it comes to the short game, because the physical movement is so low. It's not a high force, a high energy golf swing when you're putting or chipping or hitting a bunker shot, compared to hitting a full swing at 80, 90, 100 plus miles an hour. So the ability to hold the target is not in your muscles. It's not in your shoulders. It's in your brain. So this is very, very important. When you are green, when your brain waves are low, your body, your eyes will collaborate with your muscles without the middleman of the brain, and it will execute the right sequence of your swing. It will apply the right force that you've been trained on, and it'll allow you to really hold the target, which is most important when it comes to the short game. Let's keep going. On a normal day, just a normal human being day, not even a round of golf, we all have a brain that is going up and down. Our brain is never constant because it is constantly processing everything that is happening to us. We are giving meaning. If I am headed to the coffee shop and there's so much traffic and now it's making me late, well, now your brain is beginning to go into yellow and red because it's saying, oh, I'm going to be late and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. So the brain is just simply doing its job, but good things are going to happen to us too. Maybe there's no traffic on my way to Starbucks and boom, I'm just flying. And so we will feel good. In the same way that a normal human brain will completely be, in all different red, green, yellow states constantly, the same thing happens in the round of golf. What you're looking at here is an analysis of an actual 18 rounds of golf, and this is from the GYRA golf app, which I'll talk about later, and it's on the website. But if you look at this graph right over here, this is an actual round of golf, but you'll see even over here in this round of golf, this particular golfer was in green, in yellow, and red throughout the round of golf. And in the analysis, this golfer was green, performing to the best of his ability about 60% of the time, 58.3, and they were yellow or red, meaning their brain waves were operating, at higher frequency about 40% of the time, and these were the specific shots that led to that score. In other words, a round of golf is no different than a normal life, except it's actually worse. because a round of golf is cumulative. The score in one hole is counted to the score of the next hole, and your brain knows that. And so your brain is constantly processing and evaluating every single shot, whether it's a casual round of golf or a competitive round of golf. And by virtue of your brain giving that shot meaning, which only comes from your brain, the brain waves are constantly changing. I want to show you a digital brain scan of a normal brain versus a brain that is suffering from PTSD. So this is a live digital scan, again, of a normal brain and of a patient that has PTSD. I won't get into the exact circumstances of this PTSD, but you can see over here very quickly that the PTSD brain is sort of permanently operating in yellow and red. Well, every golf shot has an element on the spectrum of PTSD, especially the bad ones. And so your brain automatically goes into yellow and goes into red. And therefore, one or all of those three communications, the collaboration between the eyes and the muscles, muscle sequencing, force, and your ability to hold that target are completely compromised. So let's now define what mental strength is, okay? And this is very, very important. Mental strength is your ability to make the right adjustment when you're playing the round of golf. There are many adjustments to make, but the first adjustment to always make is, where is my brain? If my brain is not green, and it is guaranteed to not be green, well, is it yellow, is it red? If it's yellow, I need to make a different type of adjustment to get back to green versus if it's red. That ability is mental strength. And so having a language, first of all, to even say, am I yellow, am I red? Okay, if I'm yellow, now I need to make the right adjustment. We talk a lot about pressure and stress and choking, and we use all these lay terms, but there is a neuroscientific definition of pressure. Pressure is quite simply that the quantity of those brain waves, so all those brain waves, the traffic is very high, and the intensity of those brain waves, the frequency of them, is also high. So if you know the definition of pressure, and its high quantity and high intensity of brain waves, then the opposite of pressure is low quantity of brain waves and low intensity of brain waves. And so having an accurate definition of pressure is key to making the right adjustments. So let's now go back to GYRA, G-Y-R-A. So G-Y-R, green, yellow, red. That's the G-Y-R in GYRA, and the A is essentially adjustment. Again, we know what the attributes are when you're at your best. You are calm, you are focused, you are completely in that present moment. We know what it's like when you're in a zone. Every shot is going to take you away from your zone, unless it's a perfect shot. And so by constantly being aware of where your brain is and quickly making adjustments before your next shot, again, that is mental strength, and you can train yourself. And it starts with having the right language, and the tools that are in GYRA Golf are neuroscience-based tools that ultimately help you do that. And I'm going to share a few of them with you. The A in GYRA Golf is, essentially, how do I make the right adjustments? And it's very difficult for me to take my EEG, my brain TrackMan, and put it on every single golfer. That's impossible. It's not allowed in the game of golf. So my team and I did all kinds of research over 5 years, and we came up with a system that was stunningly accurate in terms of diagnosing for yourself exactly where your brain is, so that you can make the right adjustments, so that you can know how much pressure is exactly in your brain. So think of a star, as this is what I want to do with this shot, and the result of the shot was exactly what I wanted to do. That's a star. So we came up with a system of 1 to 10 that's based simply on a surprise. If I wanted to hit the ball in the middle of the fairway and I was just 1 or 2 yards off, my brain is a little bit surprised, but not that much. So that's probably a 1 or a 2 of a surprise. Now, what is a surprise? A surprise, by definition, is something I wasn't expecting. The bigger the surprise, the more your brain is going to go into yellow and red. So the best way to evaluate a shot, objectively, without judgment, is to use the surprise scale of 1 through 10. Again, if it's a star or a 1 or a 2 or a 3, that's a small surprise. And we have correlated the increase in brain waves as roughly between 0 and about 7 hertz that you see on the right side of the screen there. If it's a medium surprise, I wanted to hit the ball in the middle of the fairway, but now it's all the way on the right rough. It's not bad. I'm not out of bounds, but it's kind of not really what I wanted to do. And so your brain starts to analyze, what did I do wrong? Did it come on the inside? Did it come over the top? Did I move too fast? Will I be able to recover from that? What kind of lie will I have? So you see now, the bigger the surprise of that shot to your brain, the increase in frequency towards yellow and red. And when you are yellow, the increase, the distance from green that you go is somewhere between 7 and about 15 hertz, according to the research that we have done. And the bigger surprise, I wanted to go to the middle of the fairway, I'm now out of bounds. That's a huge surprise. Now your brain's saying, oh my gosh, you know, how am I going to recover? I'm definitely going to make double bogey or worse now. I can't believe I did this. I had a good round going, or it's an easy hole, or, you know, you see now how much brain activity is generated, the bigger the surprise. So the GYRA system allows you neuroscientifically to assess where your brain is so that you can make the right adjustments. And I'm going to give you an example of exactly why. The only way up until about 10 years ago, or even 7, 8 years ago, that you could measure that electricity quantitatively, objectively, is to go to a doctor's office. And frankly, it had to be a psychiatric doctor's office, and you had about 50 wires coming through your head. Well, the world has changed. Technology has changed. Unlike, you know, an atlas, which is what this would be from a technology perspective, we now have all kinds of technology that can really help us, and I'm going to show that to you here in just a second. Let's go to putting. One of the things that I have found in putting is that the general consensus is that putting is two things: it's speed and line. I don't like those terms so much from a neuroscience perspective, and both in the app as well as in some of the webinar training that we have on our website, you will learn that actually what is the most important to the brain that makes the brain green is neither speed nor line. It is the target that you have and your brain's ability to hold that target while it is putting. When your brain is green, your brain will do all those three things well. It will hold the target where you want to send the ball. It will apply the right force on that target based on the line that you have picked. So alpha and theta brainwaves, when it comes to putting, is really critical because the margin of error is 0. I mean, the hole is this big and you're trying to get the ball into that hole. If you miss your tee shot by 2 or 3 yards, well, you missed it, but you're still in the fairway somewhere. Same thing with your approach shots. But your brain knows that. Your brain knows subconsciously that, you know, there's a finality here and the hole is this big and my margin of error is very small. So inherently we get to yellow and red brainwaves. And the GYRA neuroscience tools that are in the app as well as in the training all give you tools that you can do in 2 or 3 seconds to make sure that your brain has the ability to hold the target. And I talk about this at length in the webinar series. But these are some of the brain waves that, you know, increase. These are natural brain waves or thoughts that we have that increase your brain waves when you're putting. And again, all of these thoughts put you into yellow, which means one of 3 things is going to be compromised: the sequence of your stroke, the force that you're applying, whether it's accelerated or over acceleration or a deceleration, and also your ability to remember where exactly it is that you were trying to hit the ball to. These are other examples of the frequencies that are associated with each one of those thoughts that I just shared with you, and we're able to measure this. What I'm going to show you now is an actual golfer. This is in my studio. Take a listen to it. So this golfer has those wireless EEG device on his head. And what you're looking at there on the screen is a live assessment scan of the brain waves, the traffic in terms of red, green, yellow. I'm going to give him certain commands to do. And so you will see in a live fashion exactly where his brainwaves are and the result of using the GYRA tools that help him get to green so that he can execute his shot in terms of putting stroke sequence, the force that he wants to apply. So take a listen. Okay, address the ball. All right. I want you to just take a deep breath, just one deep breath. Okay. So I have trained this particular golfer how to take a deep breath, and not just a random deep breath, but a deep breath. So you saw when he was over the ball, he was trying to think of making that putt, and you saw all the traffic in his brain. And then I asked him to take a deep breath, which is one of the many, many tools. And you saw the impact of that deep breath. It reduced his traffic. It took his brain to red to green. It allowed him to remember exactly his sense of sequencing, force, and his ability to hold the target. I'm going to show him two more things to do. Take a listen. I just want you to, without squeezing the grip of the putter, just use your fingers. Just feel the tension in your putter grip. Now there's a 1 second delay between my instructions, him doing it, and the recording on this wireless. But again, when I asked him to use his hands, which has one of the highest influences to the brain because there's so much nerves in your hands, our feet, our hands, and our face have the highest number of nerve endings, which means the brain responds to those three areas the most. You see how very quickly, just by doing that in a matter of seconds before his stroke, he's able to get his brain back towards very, very low frequency. And I'll give you one last example. Okay. Now I just want you to, without moving your feet, just try to feel the sensation on your feet on that rug. So once again, this is a studio indoors. He's wearing socks, and I asked him to feel his feet on that rug over there. It took him 2 seconds to have his brain feel that. There are dozens and dozens of more of these scientifically validated tools that you can use in putting, in chipping, in the bunker shot, in your iron shots of your tee game. Just remember at the end of the day that the brain waves are the king. If your brain waves are green, you will be able to execute the shots that you're capable of in the manner that you are capable of. If you are yellow, your brain waves are now above 15 hertz. They're vibrating much higher. The signal going to your muscles is going to be higher. And if you're red, it's almost a guarantee. And I've been able to predict well in advance of someone being able to make a putt, whether they're going to make that putt simply on knowing exactly where their brain waves are. I encourage you to visit GYRAGolf.com. There is an app out there called GYRA Golf where you can use tools to assess exactly where your brains are that can help you build mental strength. And you can also visit our website to learn, if you're a coach, an instructor, a golf instructor, or even a golfer at a competitive level, how you yourself in each part of the game practice putting, and all kinds of additional tools are there for you to use. Thank you very much.